It's time for a little cosine, no sign Maple Leafs edition on today's episode of the Locked On Leafs podcast. It's part of Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.
You're Locked On Maple Leafs, your daily podcast on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome into the Locked On Leafs podcast, the daily Maple Leaf centered podcast hosted by myself and my co-host, Mike DiStefano, and my co-host, Dave Morisuti. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any $5 bet. That's $150 if your bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/locked on to get started. What's going on, Dave? How you feeling today?
Feeling pretty good. Just continuing to enjoy this break from Leafs hockey. I think it's been a good mental cleanse after what we saw the last week.
Yeah, you could say that, and hopefully they come out of the gate firing. Though, I think that's what we all want to see. The break was needed. It's a good timing, good time of year to get 4 or 5 days off and reset your brain, reset the body. And then hopefully this final stretch, because there's a lot of hockey to be played down the stretch here for the Maple Leafs. Hopefully they can get going and pick up some points and show us that they are playoff ready. That being said, today's show, it's going to be a fun one. It's going to be a full cosine, no sign show. This is a fun little segment that we like to do on the show here, where we make statements to one another, and if we agree with it, we co-sign it. If we disagree with it, we no-sign it, and then we expand on our thoughts. We got a couple of Leaf ones to go through each, and then we've got a league-wide co-sign, no-sign as well. So let's kick things off, buddy. Why don't you go first?
So my first one, the Leafs have finally found their checking line with Kampf, McMahon, and David Kampf. Sorry, Nyes, Kampf, and McMahon.
I'm going to no sign it.
Okay.
I'm going to no sign it, and it's just because I'm not sure this is the lineup that we saw on Saturday, the lineup that we're going to see on Thursday. I'm not sure this is the lineup that we see game one of the playoffs. David Kampf, we've tried David Kampf as the third line center, and unfortunately, it doesn't go well. You do need a little bit more offense from that third line, and I don't know. I get the sense that this Maple Leafs team might be better suited when you have that depth down the middle, and we do maybe end up seeing a Matthews, Domi, Tavares, Kampf down the middle type of thing. I could even see maybe even Connor Dewar getting an opportunity at 3C potentially over David Kampf. If you give me Kampf or you give me versus the field at 3C, I'll probably take the field because I think there's a couple other guys who could potentially take on that role. And then it comes down to okay, well, is Matthew Nyes no longer going to be on the top line? I don't think he's played his way off that top line either. He's defensively responsible, which I think is why obviously he's getting an opportunity to be on that checking line. Ultimately, though, I think there's still going to be a lot more experimenting over the course of the last 18 games of the season. I don't think we're locked into anything quite yet. So I'm going to no sign it.
I think the one thing I saw that, when Keith was talking about that line, he called them the best offensive line in Montreal that didn't produce. Like, obviously, Domi and Tavares got the two important goals. But to me, I agree with you that, they need a finisher on that line. Like, Nyes has scored, but he's not exactly what I would say a finisher. Bob McMahon, I think, relies on he needs a playmaker to kind of get him going a little bit too. Like, he's got 10 goals, but he needs, I think, he needs someone that's going to help set him up. Like a Domi may even
Well,
work down the middle on that line more than a David Camp would.
well, and that's on your checking line.
Yeah. Well,
Like
that's the thing. So
that
my
is on
thing
your
is,
checking
you
line.
do
That
need the checking line because technically the fourth line can act as that as well, because they've proven that they can they can sustain zone pressure by being good at forechecking.
hopefully they can continue to do that. It's been a nice couple of weeks for that fourth line,
Mhm.
and if they can continue to show that they can, like you said, keep pressuring the opposition, then perhaps that could be your de facto fourth line. I know last year that's kind of how they were deployed. The other thing too is, when Mitch Marner comes back, that lineup's going to shift around, and you're not going to see probably McMahon on that line. Kelly Yarncroc will probably end up falling back down onto the third line. So I'm going to no sign it for multiple reasons. I don't think I'm definitely not putting that in pen for game one of the playoffs as this team's, third line checking line. I just think there's a lot more to see right now, and yeah, I'm gonna no sign it. Cosign, no sign. Dave, William Nylander will finish the season with 100 points. He's currently at 84, so he would need to finish with 16 points in the final 18 games to do it.
I think he falls just short. I'm gonna no sign it.
Really?
I think he's gonna fall. The thing is, with all this tinkering and stuff, he hasn't had points in the last. Well, he scored against Buffalo, but like he's had like 2 points in his last like 5 games, is I think what I saw. Like he's in a bit of a decline now. Again, with the reason why he's in the position he's in is because he can easily go and put up a 3-point night. So maybe I'm being a little harsh here in that. I think 100 is very much doable. I just think he's just gonna fall just short because I don't know if he's just had this run lately that makes me wonder if he's kind of the changes to the lineup and things like that are starting to backfire a little bit on him.
I think we've definitely seen a bit of I don't know if I call it a decline, but like the team has played a little more sluggish over the
Yeah.
course of the last week, and he's obviously been one of the players that's been uh impacted by that, and you can see it right there, the fact that he's only scored he only has points in two of his last, so that's 6 games, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games. So only 2 goals his last 5 games, but prior to that, like, this guy was on a huge point streak. Was that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10? He had gone 10 straight with a point prior to that, and of those 10 games, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them were multi-point games. And he's been above the pace car here all season long. I think that he, probably really needed this break to get himself a nice little mental reset, to heal anything that was aiding him, or potentially he was, one of those guys who was playing through the flu bug or whatever it was that was rolling through the team there over the last week or so. I think he does it. I think that he gets to 100 points. Like, he's been over a point per game player all season. So for him to only need 16 points in 18 games, if that power play gets cooking again down the stretch, I think he could get there pretty easily. So I'm gonna co-sign it.
Mm.
All right. Let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll get to another Maple Leafs cosign, no sign, and then we got a league-wide one as well. And Dave, mine involves another Atlantic Division team, and things aren't going so well in Motown. So we'll get to all that and more on the other side of the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Today's show is brought to you by Sleeper. It's nearing the playoffs this season, and regardless of where we are in the current standings, I want to remind you that you could win big by playing daily fantasy hockey on Sleeper. It's the official daily fantasy app of the Locked On NHL Network. Sleeper is our number one choice for daily fantasy sports and especially daily fantasy hockey. Because of Sleeper, you can win 100 times your cash in daily fantasy hockey contests. All you got to do is pick whether studs like Crosby, Ovechkin, Matthews, McKinnon, Nylander, whoever will record more or less than their sleeper projections for things like goals, assists, saves, plus minus, and more in any given game. To win 100 times your bet on Sleeper, you need to correctly predict the outcome of 8 player stats. You heard me, Leaf fans. You can win 100 times your money by playing daily fantasy hockey with Sleeper. So start paying attention and nail your picks so you can start winning big. Use the promo code LOCKEDONNHL, and you'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. That's code LOCKEDONNHL. See Sleeper terms of use for details and locational availability. Today's show is also brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. And with over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. With the eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the price you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. It's Mike DiStefano and Dave Morisuti. We're a daily Maple Leaf-centric podcast. You can get the podcast wherever you download your pods at, audio-wise, and also up on YouTube. We continue our road to 5K. We're giving away a jersey once we get to 5,000 subscribers on YouTube. And all you have to do is make sure you are one of the 5,000 subscribers to be eligible to win that jersey. So sub up, tell a friend, be a friend, and make sure you come back. We got new episodes each and every weekday, and it's the final stretch, ladies and gentlemen. The final stretch, 18 games to go. There's a nice little break right here before the final stretch, and tomorrow things will kick off again when the Maple Leafs take on the Philadelphia Flyers. That being said, today is a cosign, no sign edition of the show. We already went through one each, Dave. Now it's time for our second Maple Leafs cosign, no sign. Go ahead, my friend.
Yeah, so this one has to do with the final, the Leafs' final, I guess, standings, where they finish, like how many points they finish with. Currently, they have 82. The last 2 seasons, they have gone over the 110 mark. The Leafs will fail to get over the 110-point mark this year. Cosign or no sign?
So they would have to get, what, 28 points to get there?
They would have to get 28 points to get to 110 on the season.
I'm going to no sign it. That they would have to win 14 of their final 18 games. I don't see it happening. It'd be nice. It would be nice. Not that it's impossible. Like, they've gone on stretches here where they've won, 9, 10, 11 of, like a 12-game pace. But it's a tough sked down the stretch here. I think they have the 8th hardest schedule remaining in the NHL. There's some tough games to go. You've got a couple against Florida. There's a couple against Tampa. I think Carolina, you've got a game, the Rangers. So there's some tough games here. So to expect this team to win 14 of them down the stretch, I think might be a little much, especially since, not that I think the team's going to take their foot off the pedal, but they're pretty much locked into where they're going to be. And so what I think what that means is instead we're going to see maybe a little bit of experimentation from Sheldon Keefe and this lineup. And that might cost you a couple of games in the long run. But I think it's helpful to be doing stuff like that, so you know what works and what doesn't come playoff time. But if you're finding out what doesn't work, it could cost you some games and points. So I think I'm going to co-sign it. They do finish below 110 points, but I think the preseason points total, I believe, was set at what, 104 and a half or 105 and a half. Like
I
that
think
might
so.
be attainable. Like, I think they can get close. Don't get me wrong. Like, I could see them getting 105, 106, 107 points, but 110, I think might be a little bit too ambitious for the Maple Leafs.
Yeah, like I think if you look back at the standings, the Bruins finished it with 107 points, and that was for a points percentage of 652. The Leafs are at 641. So I think in that 106, 107 range is definitely attainable for this team. For anyone that wants to get a guess on where maybe they could end up.
All right. Cosign, no sign, Dave. One of Joel Edmundson or Ilya Lyubushkin will be extended this offseason.
I'm going to co-sign on Lyubushkin.
You think Lyubushkin comes back?
They desperately need right shot defensemen. They need right shot defensemen that are not going to cost a lot. I think he fits that bill. Like Ilya Lyubushkin is not going to be making what he made, what he's made the last few years. Like he got his payday.
Think? Why don't you think that?
I just don't know if a team's going to want to give. Like he went in a bit of a decline after he signed that contract. Like I don't think many would have taken. I mean, first off, the Leafs couldn't. They were able to get him at a lower cap it, so I guess that's null and void. But I just don't know if a team's going to give him over $2 million, like $2 million to be a third pairing defenseman. Don't get me wrong; some of them have been getting that.
Well, he was making 275.
Yeah, you also have to think of his age, right? Like, he's 29, so he is what he is right now. And so I just don't know if a team's going to give him that long-term deal that he got last time. I just don't know. I think I wouldn't say he maxed out, but I think he got that long-term security before. I just don't know if he's going to get it again.
I mean, I think it's likely one of these two come back. I'm not sure which one. Heck, they both could come back realistically. They both fit the mold of what, Brad Treliving is trying to build on the back end, dudes that are big, tough, and physical and nasty to play against, so they check a lot of the boxes. What will be interesting, I think, if you look at Joel Edmundson is, you're not going to be bringing back TJ Brody, I don't believe. So that does open up a spot for him to kind of fit himself in here as, one of the left side defensemen, right? You'll have Morgan Riley, and then, you could have Joel Edmundson and Jake McCabe, or, whoever else you want. I guess Simon Benoit will be in the mix here at some point too. So I think you could fit Edmundson. Lyubushkin's an interesting one. The reason why I think maybe Lyubushkin doesn't come back initially is, like, you still would like to find a better partner for Morgan Riley, than Ilya Lyubushkin. Chris Tanev is a free agent. I think everyone would love if Chris Tanev came here as a free agent this summer to play with Morgan Riley. Then again, Lyubushkin and Edmundson, like, they could be just a formidable third pair themselves, I suppose, and they both could come back. But I think it's likely one of these two end up returning to the Maple Leafs, and the draft pick compensation doesn't just blow up as this season ends. You get to see a little bit of a longer run with one of these two guys, and perhaps both of these two. I don't think that's out of the question either.
I don't think it is. I think they don't have any options really, and sometimes it's easy to take advantage of if a guy's working out. Hey, throw a contract extension at them, see if they're willing to just forego maybe the uncertainty of what the market's gonna bring.
Right, and to be fair, the other reason why, like, I don't think I would be surprised if Lyubushkin did get similar to the contract that he just signed, to be honest, like $2.5 million, just because the cap is going up. So you would probably expect for the dollars to go up on some of these guys. And like 29 is still prime age. So I think Lyubushkin could be expecting like a $2.5-ish million contract. Edmundson probably more than that, but in the 3-ish range or somewhere in the threes. But just a reminder that like they're going to completely rework this blue line over the offseason. There's only 2 players currently signed next season for the Maple Leafs. That's Morgan Riley and Jake McCabe. Outside of Riley and McCabe, they don't have anyone else signed for next year.
There's one
Lilligren's an
more.
RFA. Benoit's an
There is one
RFA.
more. There's
Technically Connor Timmins. Yeah, Connor
I was
Timmins does
say
have.
we can't forget about Connor Timmins.
Yeah, Connor Timmins is technically also under contract next year at $1.1 million. Fantastic. Which is completely variable in the minors anyway. So I'm not that worried about that. But yeah, so there's opportunity for one of these two to impress over the final 18 games and into the playoffs to make themselves a fixture on the squad next season, I do believe.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's take one more break. Let's come back and let's get into a little around the league action with cosign, no sign. That's coming up next. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Say goodbye to busted brackets because FanDuel lets you bet on every game of the big tournament. Whether you're betting on a big upset or a 1 seed, it's time to go dancing on America's #1 sports book. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets if your $5 bet wins. That's $200 to use on point spreads, money lines, futures. You can even pick who's going to win it all. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and bet on college hoops until they cut the nets down. FanDuel, official partner of the Locked On Network. Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. It's Mike DeStefano and Dave Morasuti. It is a cosign, no sign edition of the show here today. We just went through a couple of Maple Leaf cosign, no signs. Now it's time to go a little around the NHL. Dave, hit me with your first one, buddy.
With Atlanta and Salt Lake City both putting their hat in the race to get an expansion team, the NHL should just relocate the Arizona Coyotes to one of these cities.
Oh, 1,000%. 1,000% cosign.
I want to give you a layup.
Oh, this is the biggest layup of all time. This is Mitch Marner staring at an open cage type of layup, except I'm going to shoot it instead of try to take it around the net and hurt my ankle and be out for a week.
Nice.
I'm going to take the easy shot here. And, I mean, should is the operative word. Should they do this? Yeah, 1,000%. The Coyotes don't have a building. They're playing in a college rink, for Pete's sake, and have legitimately nothing right now cooking or in the works to get out of there. It was supposed to be a quick Band-Aid fix for a couple of seasons as they build a new arena. They don't even have a plot of land yet to build an arena on, let alone a plan. Like it's absurd the fact that Gary Bettman continues to baby this team, give them so many chances and shots at redemption. Could hockey work in the desert? Maybe, possibly, if they get the right ownership. But honestly, they haven't been able to. I don't know what to tell you. So, like, honestly, yes, they should. Will they, Dave? Probably not. Probably not.
So if you haven't seen the latest developments, the Coyotes are going to be the Arizona Land Department's Board of Appeals will discuss a Phoenix site where the Coyotes hope to build an arena. So there's not even like we talk about getting land, like the process for them to actually get land is not even like concrete. They can't just be like, all right, we want to purchase this land. And we already know how Arizona government feels about the Coyotes. They've literally declined every single plan the team has put forth to get an arena. And I understand that Arizona is a good sports market. The thing is, a good sports market doesn't necessarily mean a good hockey market. Like they're good on football, baseball, like an NBA with Phoenix, obviously, but hockey just hasn't worked there. And because part of the reason is if the fans were there when they were in all these other locations, they would have been able to pay their rent. They would have been able to do all those other things that would have not made them seem as, I hate to say it, but they're kind of a joke to the league. And so I was a little surprised about the Atlanta one. I know that's been tinkering a bit, but the fact that now, Anson Carter has been part of like the resurgence of Atlanta, I find that to be interesting. I think if you're going to look for another market other than Salt Lake City, I think Atlanta is, it's interesting because it's already failed twice, but they feel like it's going to be better this time around. I'm like, that's like if you broke up with someone twice, like, I'll give it another shot. I think we can get it right on the third try. Salt Lake City, though.
Hey, third time's the charm, they say. Third time's the charm.
Salt Lake City seems like a great one, though. Like they have the NBA is big. They want to have it's really nice development. I don't know if you've seen, like, it's not just that they're saying to bring NHL to Salt Lake City. They're talking about like the whole plan of the whole development of the area. And I'm like, if you're the NHL, why wouldn't you want to be a part of that?
Yeah, I agree. And like, look, there's outside the Utah Jazz, there's not a whole lot to compete with either, right?
No,
When it comes to
Arizona, that's right. Atlanta, a little bit more.
Yeah, right. And Real Salt Lake, I guess, shouldn't disparage the old MLS there.
Nope.
So there's another pro sports franchise that's there as well. But I think that could work. But will they do this again? I doubt it. I think the owners in the league would much prefer to put the $1 billion expansion fee in their back pockets as opposed to a relocation fee. The owners make a heck of a lot more money if they just increase it to 33, 34 teams than if they were just to relocate squads. I don't think it's good for the game. I think it'll water down the game. There's already not enough goaltenders as is to ice for 32 teams, and now you're going to add teams into the mix. I don't like the idea of expansion anymore. I think we've hit a good number at 32. You've got your 4 divisions, 8 teams in each, 16 teams make the playoffs, 16 teams don't. Like, I think we're set. Let's play this out for a little bit. We've had a couple of expansion teams in the last 7 years. I think that's enough. Slow your horses. There's a couple of struggling markets. If you want to get hockey going in Atlanta or in Salt Lake or in Houston or in Kansas City, some of these other teams that have been, or these other cities that have expressed interest in a team, well, like, go move a team like the Coyotes or a team like the Winnipeg Jets who are struggling to put bums in seats. Ooh. Like, there's a lot of teams, not a lot, but there are a couple teams out there that they're struggling. They are struggling financially, and they're being propped up by, teams like the Maple Leafs, who obviously bring in a lot of money, and it's a revenue sharing, revenue split league. And it's the only reason why they're still around. If they had to flip their own bill, oh my God, these teams would have folded years ago. But it's the NHL. It's a business. And yeah, I think they would prefer expansion over relocation themselves, but we'll see where that goes. It was an interesting report yesterday. All right. My turn, right? Yes.
Yep.
Cosign, no sign. The Detroit Red Wings will miss the playoffs. So the Red Wings are currently as we speak, they tied with the New York Islanders. They were as of last night.
Yeah, the Islanders are ahead because they have played one fewer game.
Yes. So the Detroit Red Wings, who've now lost 6 in a row, are now technically on the outside looking in, tied with the Islanders with 72 points, which is just 2 points back of the Tampa Bay Lightning and 4 points back of the Flyers. I guess we should mention that as well. But yeah, the Detroit Red Wings, who are just in a downward spiral at the wrong time of the year, they're going to miss out, Dave. Cosign or no sign?
I'm going to cosign. A lot of people are really worried about the Red Wings. And look, Alex Lyon has been a good story for them, but I don't know how much Alex Lyon has left in the tank to save their season, right? They lost 4-0 to the Arizona Coyotes, who couldn't buy a win in February. Let's not forget.
They had dummy 7-3 last night by the
To the
Sabres.
Sabres, who are now a wagon, apparently. Even the Sabres aren't. They're how many points out right now? I'm trying to do math right now. They're 5 points out of the playoffs right now. The Sabres, right, coming off 2 wins, one against the Oilers. I think the Red Wings are in trouble because they got other teams right now that are. I mean, look, the Islanders. I kind of thought they were going to be in the mix there, and yeah, they had lost. They won, I think, 4 in a row or something like that. Then they finally lost to the Kings, but like the Islanders they got the goaltending to push them into the playoffs. I don't think the Red Wings do, and I don't think the Red Wings have the blue line either. Right? I think Dylan Larkin. I don't know if he's still out, but apparently this Detroit team without Dylan Larkin can't. Like they desperately need Dylan Larkin. I would never thought I would have said that when I think he's supposed to be another week.
He is their best player.
He is their best player. I didn't realize how look the Leafs, if they lose Austin Matthews, can tread water at least. This Red Wings team is falling apart without Dylan Larkin.
Well, I mean, the guy who's falling apart is Alex DeBrincat. Throughout the course of this 6-game losing streak that they're currently on, he has 1 assist. One measly assist in his last 6 games. It's not what you want out of DeBrincat. Like, he's a guy you brought in specifically to, give this team an offensive boost. And 1 assist through 6 games. Not going to cut it.
Even Patty Kane's kind of slowed down too after everyone was talking about him being like a comeback player of the year sort of deal.
Yeah, well, the whole offense is drying up, and that's why they're finding themselves in the position that they're in, and they can't get a save. And I mean, it's interesting. I was chatting with Mike Johnson about this yesterday when I was co-hosting on Overdrive, and he was like, "Oh, if you look at the Red Wings numbers, like you shouldn't be surprised by this." And I went and took a look. I'm like, "Oh, holy crap! I didn't realize actually like how bad the Wings were playing. Like the Red Wings, if you look at their expected goal differential." Expected goal percentage, they're behind the Anaheim Ducks this season, the entire season, not just in this 6-game stretch, but for the league year, they've actually played worse than the Anaheim Ducks. They're 28th or 29th in the league when it comes to expected goal percentage. It's insane the fact that's happening, and then they're even in a playoff race right now, which means they've gotten excellent goaltending at the right time, and they've gotten a lot of lucky bounces, and they've gotten some lucky goals obviously along the way, and that's propelled them into the position that they're in. But eventually, that all catches up to you, and it seems to be what's happening now in this little 6-game stretch, and it's the wrong time to be on a 6-game losing streak. And it comes on the heels of, like, I think they had won 5 in a row, and then they've lost 6 in a row. So it's just these massive swings for this Detroit team. So can they rattle off 5-6 wins after this and put themselves back in the driver's seat? Perhaps, but the numbers suggest that this is kind of who the Red Wings are. They're not quite what we thought they were. Not the wagon we once thought they could be. And the Islanders currently now in a playoff spot. I never actually looked at Buffalo as a possibility to get in, but man, 5 points, 16 games to go. It's doable. It's definitely doable.
Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen has been stellar. They're getting the goaltending. Bo Byram,
he's got like 4 goals since he's come to Buffalo or something like that. Like 4 goals, 6 or 7 points. Like
almost like he was a good player.
Hey, he was a good player.
We never doubted he was a good player, but
yeah,
maybe someone that needed a little more opportunity.
That's right. That's exactly what it is. It's the Isaiah Quickly effect for those Raptors fans. So I'd be worried for the Red Wings, and that sucks for Patrick Kane. Like if Patty Kane comes back, signs with Detroit, and then just misses the playoffs, that'd be so terrible, so terrible. But Hey, he picked the Red Wings, who at the time it was a crapshoot if they were going to even make the playoffs. So that's
Yeah.
on him for choosing Detroit instead
Mhm.
of a team that maybe was a little bit more solidified in a playoff spot. But it's still going to suck not to see Showtime in the playoffs. All right, buddy, good stuff. Any final words?
No, I'm just gonna go
Nothing.
add Bone Bomb to fantasy because I just remembered that.
Honestly, probably a good call. Probably a good call for everyone to have Bo Byram to to their fantasy teams. All right, that'll do it for us here today on the podcast. I'd like to thank you all for listening and supporting the show. You can subscribe to the Locked On Leafs podcast on all platforms and receive daily Leafs content Monday through Friday. You can follow myself on X at Mickey_Canuck. Follow Dave at D_Morisuti and follow the show as well at Locked On Leafs. Be back with another episode tomorrow. It'll be game day, finally. Game day after this long stretch off. They are taking on the Philadelphia Flyers. So we'll tee that game and preview it for you on tomorrow's show. But until then, keep it locked right here on Locked On Leafs.